I don't remember if it was in the morning session or the evening session, about partially loaded CUIs. Was that question raised here?
I think that might have been the morning session.
I can start up by showing that anyway, because it was a question that came up. So if I run let's run the relaxed version of AutoCAD. So the question was, if I have a partially loaded file, where do I have to put my resources in? And I said that you can do you admit Jen to join? So just showing this really quickly, if I have my ribbon, just any of them, a random one, this one, right? So when I don't have an icon. What is this? Let's take another one. So panel, am I doing? Okay, here's one. So when I declare my command, help file topic and all of that, and also the icon, I use the IDs from the resource file, the XMX file, dark and light theme, like I showed yesterday. But if I don't have them there, I have them separately. I can choose a bitmap or PNG image from here, and then I need to provide them with the in the make wizard. I need to add them in the make wizard and copy them and make sure they're in the pack so they can be found. Otherwise, if I use partially loaded files, partially loaded menu files, like here, I can use the IDs from the general resource file. Just like I can use these AutoCAD resources for native AutoCAD commands. Okay, so that was just an explanation I did due to a question that came up. So I think we are good to go, right?
Yeah. Yeah, we got 105. I think we can start.
All right. So today's session, the final one, is we're calling it finalizing for first customer ship. So we're going to go over a few topics here: debugging, licensing, how to apply licensing to your product, regardless of, do you admit Hannu in? Okay. Yep. Tervetuloa Hannu. Just starting, so you didn't miss anything really. Licensing, and like I mentioned yesterday, the how-to video, it's quite complicated though, because it does involve a lot of steps, and the basic procedure is described in the documentation. However, it doesn't show how you add your custom content and the context sensitive help for your commands. So I'm going to prepare a video for that. It doesn't make sense to do it. I cannot fit that exercise into any of our sessions. And then we're going to look at the distributable, how you create your deployment. And then we're going to look into maintenance. This may be quite a lot of stuff. We did this in 1 hour and 7 minutes this morning, so I better start going. So there is a YouTube video that I mentioned yesterday due to a question. I don't know if that came up in this session or in the morning session, but there is a video that explains the debug process. It's very simple. Very simple, and I'm going to show it really quickly here with our, So I'm going to run Visual Studio, run as admin, yes. And we're going to use our filer sample we had yesterday. And I'm going to put a breakpoint somewhere here. I'd better show you also the Make Wizard project that I'm using for this. Okay, so we have October 15 today. You remember the day one project, right? Day one was the filer sample, so that's the one we're going to use. Yeah, this is the filer sample. So I put a breakpoint here, and what I need to do to debug this, I go and in the debug tab, I make the target executable my OEM host application. It's already there from this morning, so otherwise you have to browse to the build location of your. So I'm just going to run debug, start new instance. It'll launch my day one CAD. And I'll draw a circle. And I do run filer. And I end up in the source code. And I can step through here. Now it sends me back to the editor, and then I can just see what's going on. That's the first option. I'm closing this down. And the second option is to go and start the application from here, run day one. And once it's up and running like this, I go to debug, attach to process, and I look for day one here, and I attach. Once I've attached to the process, I go, something didn't look quite right here. Or maybe I'm just debug. Okay, I was expecting a window there. Circle, run filer, and I end up here. And I step past this one. Yeah, you see the same thing. Applies to both native and managed modules. That's the first exercise. I should mention one thing. I'll leave this to you as an exercise or homework, or call it what you want. In the developer's manual, there is a description of debugging. I think it's down here somewhere in the, no, tips and techniques. Use AutoCAD OEM as a development debugging tool. You may want to read that section. Sometimes it doesn't catch the breakpoint. That is because your product is out of date. So if you don't end up at the breakpoint, just go to Visual Studio, rebuild the DLL, and try again. Let's move on. That was debug. If you want that link for from YouTube, I'll send it to you if you don't have it from before. Okay, next one is licensing. So there is one way to apply your licensing in a secure, safe, reliable, and maintainable way. With maintainable, I basically mean that you apply your licensing in one place and one place only, and it's safe and reliable and secure enough. Instead of having, as some partners have done, litter your software with licensing checks on each and every DLL and runtime. So let's go to We'll add our licensing on our day one CAD by going to Visual Studio. I have a stub project that I have prepared for these trainings. It's called OEM licensing stub. It's very simple. It needs to be written in C++, but if you are not familiar with C++ and you don't want to write C++ code, don't worry about it. You'll see very soon. I'll share this with you on request. Open. So for you who are familiar with the C++, native C++ object ARX, this is a standard, typical object ARX entry point. This code is present in all ARX applications. So there is nothing special here really, nothing you need to edit yourself except this call. So in the entry point, in the init app message, which is sent during your the startup and your application load, you call your license check. And if you'll see here, my license check is up here. I'm sorry, I have commented out a lot of code. So all my license check does, it looks for an archive in the root. And currently it is there. So that is my license check. So whether you have a dongle, USB stick, or some sort of authorization code or online verification, you just place it here. It doesn't need to be in C++ because you can mix different modules, but you need to apply, you need to place the call here. So this just checks whether this file is present or not. And let's build this one. All right. And we go to the Make Wizard. And we go to our virtual folder. And OEM licensing stub, debug. No, 64-bit debug. ARX. This is the one. So when we add an ARX module, it needs to be bound using the ARX mode, bind ARX mode. We put it in the root folder of our application, and we check this box, required object ARX. This means that your or our day one CAD won't run without this one being present. So this is the support in the framework for implementing your licensing. So I'm just going to save this one, and also in your module settings, we don't have any commands. We don't need a load control value. We don't need a logical application name. This is entirely taken care of by the framework. So I think I better build it all now. Okay, there we go. And now when we run our day one CAD, while it launches, it will look for the licensing ARX module, and it will load it in, execute the init app message. It will see that the adn.zip archive is present, and I can issue my run filer here if I want. So everything works as expected. But if I go back here and I remove this, or just rename it like that, okay, And then we run again. This is the message that I provided down here, up here, right? No, down here. Right. So if the license check returns return OK, I unlock the application and register it and start. If it returns anything but return OK, I just present this message and say that you need to get a valid license. And when they click OK here, okay, it initially starts the editor, but then it shuts down gracefully. So this is all you need. Same thing, I renamed the file here. If I would go in to my OEM root location and remove this OEM licensing ARX file, it would be the same thing. It won't launch. I won't get the error message, but you cannot run it. We're not going to try that. We are going to try to move on. So that is licensing. Do you get any questions in the chat window, Ray Bass?
No, sir, not yet. Sorry about that.
Okay, good. So next one. How are we doing on time? 19 minutes. Okay.
Yep.
Excuse me. So the next one. The next one is creating a deployment. So this is an old screenshot from the previous version. Sorry about that. But we're going to create a deployment of our day one CAD here. And for that, we're using the installer wizard. Where did it go? Oh, here it is. So to build our deployment, as you see in the, you have the location of the AutoCAD OEM DVD image. This is all the locations where the install wizard will look for content to create your deployment. So I'm going to point to AutoCAD OEM 2021. That's the one, right? And then I need to locate the AutoCAD OEM install, which is a bit weird. It should find it, but some people are running different languages like I do, and so maybe there is a reason for pointing it out. And then I need to point to the Make Wizard project file. And as you remember from yesterday, it's here. Copy. Browse. And it's in the projects subfolder, day one. This is the one, okay? And now I'm confused. Build AutoCAD OEM product. Okay, that's the other location, yeah. So I need to browse to the build tree. Oh, this is a different window. Okay, so it's here. Users, default, documents, AutoCAD OEM 2021, day one. This is the location of my OEM product. And finally, the location for my master. And I will put it in the virtual training folder here. Okay, so if you have something in the master folder from before, it will be overwritten. That's it. Then you can add some shapes, shape files, you can add some system fonts, you can add some vertical specific template files that are not standard to the product. You remember we did the exercise with the DWT file the other day. So anything you customize or add in that way will be added through the Make Wizard. So, and then in this tab, you add your branding, like the splash screens and company names and product branding and images. We're not going to do that here. It's pretty straightforward. It is also explained in the manual. And then you have some further options here. I'm just going to find a license agreement for my product. I'm going to steal the one from AutoCAD OEM. Yeah, let's just get one from here because you need to provide something. And then we build this one. All right. It'll take a few minutes. I think the day one CAD was a full-blown CAD engine, so it will include everything that is in there from those locations that we assigned in the beginning. Okay, so let me just think so I do things in correct order here. Oh yeah, one more thing. So this is a project file, so I can save this. I can save this somewhere, check it into my source code control system. I'm just going to put it here. I'm going to call it install wizard day 1, that is great. So you don't need to do all the branding and things all over again. But there is one thing that I like to point out here, which is very critical. With the Make Wizard, you can start from previous version Make Wizard projects, but with the OEM installer wizard, you need to create this from scratch with every new release of AutoCAD OEM, because there is a unique GUID that is created with this product. So if you start to build your 2021 OEM application based on the settings or the project file for 2020, and you distribute your product to an existing user who used to license your 2020 version of the software, they try to install it and it will say this product is already installed. So every time you create a new project, you get a unique GUID. So that is something to be aware of. I think I can close this now. Let's have a look at the, hey Pavel, a question. When I debug the C++ code with using remote machine, working remotely, and attached project to AutoCAD or OEM, the breakpoint is not hit, and I unable to debug. Can any solution for this? Okay, so I think let's cover the questions afterwards. But you are, Ray Bass, any questions that come in that you feel that we should handle right away, please let me know.
Okay, perfect.
We'll handle this after the
Perfect
exercises. So now I have an image. Now I have a deployment. Let's have a look at that. Documents, virtual training, master. So this is an AutoCAD-like install with the setup. It is not branded now. You will brand it for yourself. this is my day one OEM application, and I have my own MSI as part of the regular setup files that are included from whatever I have configured to be included in the product. So that's what it looks like. Before we run this, we're going to do a couple of things. First, oh, what did I click on now? So this was the installer wizard. And the next step is to look at maintenance. So for maintenance, what I can say in a basic case is that if I make any changes, okay, we did send the licensing along. I hope I hope it didn't work. Yeah, I was planning to remove the licensing before we created the deployment, but yeah. So what I was saying was, if I make any changes to my filer sample module to the existing code, I won't add any new commands. I have one command in here. Then it'll be fine to just replace that on the end user site, and it will work. But that is not a very likely scenario if I add any new commands to this existing module, or if I add any new modules to my product. I will have to do a few more things, and that's the next exercise. So how are we doing on time? 29. I think this looks really good. So we go to program files. No, sorry. We go to the location of our build. Day one. And when we look at the tree structure here, there is a file called scree.dll that you are probably familiar with. So what I'm going to do is, just to show, I don't really need to know this now because we're going to do it anyway, but you keep the timestamp on that file, because this is the timestamp of your version 1.0 of day one CAD. And then we have some changes that we're making to our day one CAD. We're going to add some stuff in here, and I'm going to just take something standard from the SDK. AutoCAD OEM samples. I'm going to take another .NET. Let's take this one. This is simple. This is another custom DLL, which includes a few commands. We're just interested in one. Make it simple. Build. And in the make wizard, now we're working on version 1.1 of our product. I hope I'm doing this in the right order now. Bin, debug. Yeah. Excuse me. So bind managed is the mode, root folder, and it did have it has several commands. We're just going to get the first one here. Get integer And the namespace where the command is registered is named prompts. That is my principle behind assigning these logical names. And I'm going to load it and start up like that. Save. And trying to just think that I'm not missing something here. I think this is what I need to do, yeah. So I'm going to issue a complete build. And I have kept this timestamp 7/16. Okay. And then I go to this location. I can sort them in this order. And I can see everything that changed with this complete build. So I have my prompts file, and this is where you need to really, if you remember, we looked at the registry settings for the run filer the other day, and that is why you need to keep track on what you added and what you changed from version 1.0 to version 1.1 that we are on now. So we added this one. These have all been touched by the build. We need the SCREE DLL. We need the brand resource DLL. We need the resource files that we looked on the other day, and we need the registry. And you see in this preview here, the registry contains everything that needs to be put in the registry for our product, for this version of the product, including the prompt DLL. I could perhaps, I feel like I'm missing something here. Oh, yeah, this one. I'll bring this into it. Okay, so now when I have these, I'm just going to send them to an archive on the desktop. Fine. And now, next step would be for us to, to try an end user product, you should really do that on a separate machine, because if you do that on the developer machine, there will be conflicts with the registry settings that we saw the other day, because the end user product needs their own registry settings. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to kill delete the day one project from here, which means all of the settings are gone here. That means that I can now install my my end user version 1.0 on this machine. So let's go ahead and try that. It's in the master and setup. So all of this branding is really simple and straightforward. You can also provide the documentation. These are simple HTML links to documents, so you can replace these with your own documentation. I'll just accept, next. And it ends up in program files, Texop 3D, day one CAD. Let's see how fast this is. While this is installing, I think we may as well do something here at the same time with our 1.1 version. So if I go to desktop, this is my archive. I want to put it, let's just put it here. And I'll create a new folder, day 1.1. Yeah. So this is 1.1 of our OEM application. And I'm going to extract them. Okay, I thought I fixed that. Okay, let's see. Extract here, yes. So now I have the content that I need to provide to the end user, right? And how I do it, if I do it as a patch or something that they can install, it depends on what type of deployment software and abilities you have. We're just going to do it by doing a copy replace. So this is finished. And if I go to the start menu now, I will find day 1 CAD here. Let's run it. Non-authorized copy. Okay, it works. It will shut down gracefully like we expected, because I forgot to rename the okay, let's try again. Day 1 CAD, there we go. Circle, run filer. There it is. And the other command, get integer, is not here. Oh, get integer, there's no get integer there. We didn't expect that either. We're going to upgrade this version to include also the get integer command and module. But there are some things we need to adjust. So we go to Notepad++ and we look at this registry file. And it does contain the development machine locations to day 1, as you see. So we need to replace these with the end user location, which is program files, TechSoft 3D, day 1 CAD. This is the location of our product. Copy. Oh, you saw in the registry we had double backslashes. So let's see if I can do that here before we copy. Like that, and like that. Copy. So what we do in Notepad+ is we replace day 1 with program files, TechSoft 3D, replace all, 203, okay? And then we save this. And we can see in this preview that it did get changed. So we can close this one down. And what we now do is we take all of these, including the new ones, and we just drop them in our Textile 3D day one. You want to have them in here, right? I made the edits to the registry file. I brought the new components into my 1.0 end user install of the product. So if I look for prompts, it's here. But I need to add these settings to the end user machine registry. So I'll just double click these and add them. Yes. Okay. And now, this is the critical moment. If I haven't missed anything, and I go to day one CAD, and I launch it, we'll make some updates to the catalog of MSI catalog of installed software, and then you see it launches, and I will open a drawing. I will draw a circle. I will run the filer like before. I select the object. That's a good sign. The old stuff is still there. And get integer. Enter your age, 21. And I never showed you what that code did, but it basically just asks for an integer. So now I have, and I am running version 1.1 of my day one CAD. I think if we go here, yeah, we covered all those topics. There is one more thing we could actually do. Control panel, programs. If I look for Textile 3D, Textile 3D day one CAD, I can also uninstall it from the end user machine or repair. And the branding you do in the install wizard is explained in the dev help file also. We talked about that yesterday, I think, how to brand your OEM application. That's it. So if